Hey Fernando, very nice to see you again.
Hi, Fabian. Nice to see you again, and thanks for the invitation.
I really appreciate you making time for this. Before we make a start, would you mind giving me a little bit of context to who you are, a little bit more context to your journey, and then what you currently do at Volvo?
Yeah, absolutely. You know now you see it, Fernando Lopez. I'm currently working as a senior innovation manager at Volvo Group at CampX. I've been working for about 12 years, 11 years in the automotive industry. First year is actually very much focused on more passenger cars, but then the last 3 years I've been working more specifically in Volvo Group with the larger vehicles. And that is everything that goes from buses, trucks, construction equipment. Then we also have Volvo Penta, which is part of Volvo Group. We have 10 different companies with the Volvo Group. And that's actually where I'm spending most of my time nowadays. I work in CampX, which is the innovation arena within the Volvo Group, and support the different technical product owners in the organization and innovation or innovative projects, and also a lot of when it comes to collaboration with startups, and but overall with tech company and tech exploration as well. That's a little bit about my work background. I had a short experience also in life science. Actually, I started working with in pharmaceutical industry from IP side, and with patents, IP strategy. I thought I wanted to be an European patent attorney, but then I actually changed a little bit the journey, and I went into automotive. Myself, I'm from Mexico actually. Uh, Born in Mexico, lived a few years in Mexico, but then also lived a little bit abroad here and there with a family. And then the last 12, 15 years I've been living and working in Sweden.
Very exciting. Let's start with CampX because it seems like quite a unique setup. So, what specifically is the role of CampX in the wider Volvo ecosystem? How you're positioned organizationally, and generally, what does your sort of high level value chain look like as a business unit or entity?
Yeah. Also, so CampX, I can start saying that we focus on technology and business innovation. Um, we're part of the Volvo Group, and as I said, Volvo Group is a group of more than 10 companies, mostly large vehicles. CampX, we are technically sitting actually under the or supporting the CTO office, so the Chief Technology Office within the Volvo Group. Meaning with this that we support the different business areas. Our role here is actually really to support the technical teams exploring new technologies. We know that the traditional, if you want to see it like this, OEM, we have a very good network. We have our ecosystem already in place. But what the CampX actually enables is actually to explore new suppliers, even explore new technologies and new ways of working. How we do this is really through strategic partnership, and that is pretty much what CampX is supporting the Volvo Group. And we do it through three strategic programs that we call them. We have an incubator, we have a venture client, and we have the venture builder. Incubator is a little bit more targeting early stage companies, early stage startups. Maturity level, they don't really have to be that high, TRL probably 4. The idea here is actually to engage early stage with these companies, uh, help them as well to understand the industry needs. We believe at Volvo Group that one of the big reasons why startups fails is because they don't really understand the industry needs. So by enabling these capabilities within the incubator, we let them come here, sit in our facilities, get access to sponsors, to network, and hopefully they can develop later a product or prototype probably that we can test and collaborate together, or maybe even jump into the next program, which is the venture client. Here at venture client, that's a little bit more generic term, I would say. Sorry. Venture client is really much about understanding first the technical needs, understanding what the product owners have and their as challenges, and then pairing them with interesting startups that probably we can do a prove a valid project. These are quick projects around 3 months, 6 months, less than a year. Here is where the CampX toolbox kicks in, right? It's about really lean validation of the technology. We have a good setup, and we have worked together with our IP colleagues, with our legal colleagues, with our purchasing colleagues as well, really to test and to validate the technologies before we go for a long-term commercialization. So this is high level what the venture client is. It it is a lot of support and understanding in technology. It can be even co-funding from what's called innovation agency, for example. And then on the other hand, the other program that we have is the venture builder. This is more about supporting the Volvo Group and creating new revenue streams. This could be even new spin outside the Volvo Group, but many times it just becomes a new product or a new service, or it even probably could be a new organization within the Volvo Group. High level, these are the three programs that we have in Volvo CampX. There's not always linear. Sometimes we start with one, but again, it goes to another one and then it could jump. And it's more about using a toolbox to put it on the service of the organization to try to explore new ideas, new projects, new technologies. My role in this is really to be, we often say we are like the Tinder here. It's a bit joking. We have some mentors saying that, we do the matchmaking, we do the exploration, we step in and help them with the validation and helping them go through the legal parts, the IP parts, purchasing as well, but everything working together with our colleagues from those organizations. In my case specific, I'm very much focused and responsible for the area that we call the tech domain that we call intelligent vehicle. This is pretty much all the technologies that we have inside a vehicle or the different kind of vehicles. But then on the side, I'm also with another colleague trying to strengthen the way we're going to work in the venture builders, and this is really about creating the new business revenues for the Volvo Group.
No, super exciting. Thank you so much for the overview. That was really clear. Before we talk about some of the specific initiatives, partnerships, etc., across these three, are there any sort of on a high organizational level? Are there any particular areas that you're currently looking to, or where you seek external partnerships in terms of specific either metrics you would like to optimize for, or any particular technological areas, etc.?
Yeah, it's it. Tech domains, I would call them. They're very broad. We have companies like Volvo Financial Services. We have Volvo buses, Volvo trucks, Volvo autonomous solutions. So there's a common denominator between some of them, but some of them they're also a bit more specific and unique. So it really depends. However, we believe what we say that is our focus area now is sustainability. We have AI, of course. Everybody's talking about AI, and we cannot be part of that train. And we know that we'll use AI in the different domains in sustainability, but also in productivity, being automation, testing, and so on. But still, well, we decided to put AI as one of the key focus areas. But it's also, I think, it will be a lot about even when it start going to the service part, really about the ownership, how we're going to see the new ways of owning a vehicle, utilization of the vehicle. I think this would be another one of our key focus areas. With this, we have mobility as well. So it's really automation, better said. We will have our own company, Volvo Autonomous Solution, which is fully focused on automation of vehicles, 100% autonomous. But we also have some more traditional automation departments when it comes, for example, the ADAS functionalities. But then we also see this in the marine industry with Volvo Penta, and also see it in the construction equipment. So high level, probably will say is those four areas could be.
Mm. Do you so what does this process usually look like? Do you get a demand from a senior business stakeholder with a particular type of problem that they would like to solve, and then you essentially scout and try to do the, as you called it, matchmaking with possible candidates in one of your three streams? And then so this is question one, and then question two, how do you evaluate the sort of possible players in and across these three categories in terms of suitability, etc.?
Yeah, exactly. We try to say we are, we're an innovation department, but we say we're always demand-driven innovation. So everything has to come from a real need from one of the technical owner. The level, it could be from very senior leadership, perhaps, but also it could be a bit lower in the organization. Here we try to this to really understand their pain points, understand what are the challenges that they have. For example, another area, strategic area, I probably forgot to say is when it comes to e-mobility, right? which is very important, but I missed it for some reason. But anyhow, for example, one challenge could be that we're looking into a way of recycling batteries. So we try to understand what is exactly what you're looking in recycling batteries. Is it more like from a software solution, more from a service part, or where exactly? With this, and getting a little bit more information, we go outside. We try to do scouting based on some strategic partners that we have. We also have very good connection with some venture capitals, and we even have our own venture capital in order to try to get it and find the best startups and more relevant for the technical owners. When we find like a good candidates, we do the presentation, matchmaking, um, and then if there's interest to continue exploring a little bit collaboration, we of course we have to sign perhaps an NDA most likely, and then it's when the real project starts. We show a little bit that our real intentions or timelines, for example, when we were looking for that specific technology, and we're supporting and drafting what we call a proof of value. You could call it proof of concept, but it might be semantics. We call it proof of value because we believe here organization or the startup has already developed, has a product to show. We want to see that it makes a good match with our organization, even from a people perspective and team perspective. So anyhow, we support them with this drafting or framing of the proof of value, all the legal part, purchasing, IP, and so on, and then hopefully the project can start. And it's very much then the line organization who's running the project. We're more in the background. And then when the project finalizes, we probably come in again to try to see, okay, what are the potential next steps? Potential next step could be a second POV, but I could also say that, this company's ready and we should probably go for a commercial partnership, sign a long-term agreement. But I could also, with all humbleness, it could be that, it didn't really work. Why didn't it really work? Because we weren't ready, or because they weren't ready, or because we're just not the right match. We're coming from an ecosystem where, automotive is very big. And a lot of companies, they've been focusing on passenger cars. And sometimes they believe it's the same as a one passenger cars to commercial vehicles. And it's not really the case in many times, right? It's different heights, vibration, and sometimes it doesn't really work. So then this is what a POV also enables us to really understand if it's a one-to-one or not, or what needs to be tweaked. And if something needs to be tweaked, how do we go forward and a further or collaboration or partnership? So high level, this is a little bit how the project works in the stream and the venture client mostly. But it could be that at some point we say, and it's really about getting to know what the startup is looking for, right? I think it's one of our key values here is really about trust and integrity, and not try to see like the big corporate try to take advantage of the startup, but rather try to see how do we do things together. How do we make the most for society to bring that technology to market? It could be sometimes end up into a tech acquisition. Why? Because startup even say, I was more focusing on life science, but now I tried to do a POV with you guys to see if this works for automation or in mobility, but it didn't really work. I want to step out from that. Would you be interesting to buy tech stack or what is considered for automotive? And if it makes sense, yeah, why not? It's leapfrogging and developing. And I think, that is something that really even comes from a top in the organization. Our CEO saying, partnership is the new leadership. So we're very much encouraged and partnering with different actors. And of course, we have big collaboration with tier one, but why not with startups? They might have a way of seeing problems in a different way that we haven't even thought about that. And we are 100-year-old company, or when is it, like in a few years, 27 turning 100 years. So we want to challenge ourselves and start to see things and approach how we approach the problems in a very different way. And we believe collaborating with startups is a good step in this journey.
Mm. You mentioned that some of your focus areas include things like AI and sustainability, which everyone is talking about and which are arguably super important. And some organizations use objectives and key results to specify qualitative and quantitative success metrics in those. Nevertheless, a challenge that I hear a lot from stakeholders personally, but then also peers in the wider network, is around the creation of clear value cases for them, so financial value cases. And lots of the products in these spaces, if you build a data product to improve your sustainability reporting, for example, it's really hard to quantify this in terms of financial numbers. Similarly, if you build an AI agent that improves your end customer's experience, it's so nuanced and so complex how this affects your the overall customer experience, and then down the line the financial value that you create for your organization. I was just wondering how you approach this conversation around financial value. Do you create business cases for all of your initiatives, and if not, how you balance the qualitative and quantitative side of measuring success?
Yeah, well, it is a good question, right? Because I mean, I think you cannot see it in one dimension. Of course, money is important, and we need to be profitable. Um, However, I think we also have our core values. You know, one is safety as well being one of them. So there's
Mm.
things when it comes to safety, we will not compromise anything, right? Even though the business case now might not be the best one, and then we get pushed. We have to work it in a better way. Same when it comes to sustainability. We have also very openly saying that we have targets to be net zero by 2040. So of course, it's something that it comes a little bit like we know the first steps it might be more expensive, but we try to say, okay, this is not I mean, it's not a sprint. It's really a marathon. How we're gonna actually be able to make the larger impact and in profitability as well, because we have owners, so we have to be profitable in the long run, and not just in the first years or first months, probably of adoption. So it is a complicated equation. And I said, as I mentioned, you cannot see it only from one dimension. We have to see the whole piece of the cake and see that, you know, everything makes sense.
No, very good. Thank you. I mean, it's one of these topics. It feels like also with lots of organizations I've worked with, they're going through waves of trying to quantify and translate everything you do in terms of financial metrics. Usually, when sort of a CFO steps into a CEO role, or sort of similar transitions, and then in other ways, especially if there are people coming from a sort of very end customer driven commercial organization that are happy to focus more on some of the qualitative metrics. But no, super interesting. You sort of alluded to this, but just a question: do you always acquire a share in the startups that you work with?
No, so actually we don't. In many cases we don't. Um, let's say in the incubator, we we let them sit here in our facilities for free, but we don't take any equity. We don't do any investment at that point. In the venture client, we don't take any equity. We don't do any investment. It's rather that we run POVs or proof of values, which we pay for them. Um, However, we do have a venture capital arm within the Volvo Group, which we work very closely to. We're different teams, but we work close to them. Sometimes it always happens that companies are looking for or then in a round, or they're looking for investment. So we do make introductions with them. From CampX side, we also have the possibility to do a little bit more of strategic investment, perhaps we could do if we see for long term, but it's really not the investment. It's not the first thing that we look from our side, at least in CapEx.
Mm. So on the surface level, one of the challenges that we've seen across a number of somewhat similar constellations are cultural barriers when it comes to integrating very, I don't know, I'm sort of a little bit stereotypical, but fast pace or organizational hierarchy, fail fast, learn fast, pivot quickly startups with somewhat traditional corporate organizations with their processes, somewhat lengthy decision constructs, etc., etc. I mean, I could go on for hours, but is this a big challenge for you to essentially marry the two to build on your Tinder analogy? And then secondly, how do you overcome some of these challenges, both on the startup side, but then also on the corporate side, where you of course would like to generate the value internally?
I think I'll start with the easy one. I don't know if the easy one, but at least with the one I thought now. From the Volvo side, I think is I mean, CapEx has been running now for almost 4 years, or sorry, over 4 years. It started 2020, but of course, a bit soft start with the COVID and all the situation. But and in this 5 years, I think we have gained the trust and respect from many of the organizations within the Volvo Group. And I think we're in a point now where they, by seeing that we are involved or we're the ones enabling this matchmaking, they kind of feel, okay, you're one of us, you are Volvo to start with, and we have worked together in other projects. So I think in that way, it starts getting a little bit easier that adoption. It's not perfect, and we still have a lot of things to do. But I think that is, I mean, based on the trust that they have given us now, and we have supported in the past in showing the results, that has been able to, to disarm a little bit, and to be able to dare to try new things, and to try new suppliers. Because of course we have a lot of colleagues as well that we have great engineers within the Volvo Group, and sometimes they would like to invent everything. But then it's really about realization that they don't have the time for doing that, and trying to understand, okay, who are the right people to partner with. But so I think this is something that support us in this journey. From the organizational side, I think it's really about you know we try to work as much as possible, or always, sorry, with and show a lot of integrity, and I mean, and understanding that, yeah, we are the big company, but we don't know everything, um, and to try to create a good framework that the startup feels, okay, we are collaborating together. We're testing on this together. We might have a bit more capital and robustness in processes, but they have something else to bring to the table. Where they might also be lacking a bit more of the robustness, probably, or long-term experience. So it's really about trying to find those win-win situation, try to see what is in for the startup and what is in for us from the beginning. And that is why I say that, I mean, proof of value is what we call them, because it's really about saying, okay, is it's really a value for the organization, even from a people perspective, and is this going to be a good team to collaborate if we decide to offer a 3-year or 5-year partnership. So it's really about creating a safe space framework with uh, when we can test things in a rather speedy way.
Mm. On this, you mentioned Gen AI there earlier, and that of course AI is one of your focus areas. I was just wondering and potentially get your perspective on how disruptive do you think Gen AI specifically could be across your portfolio, both in terms of how you work as a function within CampX, and then also with some of the startups or potentially also sort of SMEs that you partner with in this space.
How important with you was a question, or how?
Yeah, so how important it is, and then how do you think Gen AI within your portfolio as CampX will develop moving forward?
So I would say of our portfolio, I think it's highly prioritized, because everything comes about, we don't want to miss this train, so we have
Mm.
to learn. Um, and as we know about be more efficient as well. Even ourselves and the team, we're starting to adopt some Gen AI tools just to be able to make our work faster and more efficient, right? Be able to capture all the knowledge somehow that we have, and to be able to spread it in a better way to the whole Volvo Group organization. So even from that side, and the team, we're really trying to not be pioneers, because we're far from being the first ones, but at least ready to implement this kind of way of workings. And then in the organization, I mean, I mean, always when I speak, whoever team it is, they all ask about AI. They always think, okay, this is something we have to know how to work with, how to adapt to it, how to interact with. And that is probably one of the reasons that even with the Volvo Group, we have some AI core teams spread around the organizations, to try to be able to be the front runners, and be able to have a lot of lessons learned, and spread the knowledge, and understanding of how to utilize it, because it's also a lot about about data integrity. Could be, it's also about the following data act. I mean, we're a company based in Europe, or big part of operations in Europe, so we have to be compliant with all the different um, guidelines that we have. And I mean, it is a bit like a boom now. Some organization might not know how to be that effective or adaptive to that. So that is what we're trying to spread around within the Volvo Group.
As a final question from my side, imagine that you're speaking to a leader at one of the big automotive companies, whether that's within Volvo or any other large incumbent automotive OEM, who's in charge of looking for startups or organizations, partnerships outside of their organization to essentially fuel innovation in lots of these areas that you've spoken about, sustainability, AI, data, tech more widely. What would be your top three recommendations to him or her to make partnerships? First of all, find the right companies, but then also make these partnerships sustainable and a long-term success for both parties.
I think it's really about trust, to be honest. I mean, I think that is something, and we even created our innovation model, and we say like really the foundation for everything is really about trust. Might sound a bit cheesy, but I mean, it is, I think, what I have taken us where we are. I mean, to now we have done over 150 projects with 150 different startups. Um, and some of them we have done a second or third project, and it's because, we conduct ourselves and they do it as well in the same way, and trying to find really like a win-win situation or environment. It's also about partnering overall. I mean, partnering, yes, with startups and comes with the trust, but it's also what to find the right startups or the best startups. Many times also, I mean, you cannot do it alone, or it will take you very long time to alone and to go to all the fairs and map for the good companies. And even though you made a company, you have never really done anything. So it's really about finding some key strategic partners outside, which that could be pay partners, but it could also be some venture capitals as well. I mean, they have a lot to share, and it's a bit of an interest at both sides. But also partner with overall ecosystem players like academia as well. Academia usually like spin outs a lot of startups, so it's good to know where to find those ones, the best ones, and based on what you're looking for. Uh, I would say that is like trust, is collaboration, and good partnerships.
No, brilliant. Thank you so much for your time and insights today, Fernando. I really enjoyed our conversation and learned a ton from you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Fabian. Nice to speak.